Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. For the past couple of weeks, I've been live streaming Kingdom Come Deliverance and having an absolutely amazing time. It's been a peaceful couple of weeks after all of the chaos and turmoil the channel was in while I was covering Veilguard. But I have come to realize that many of the Kingdom Come faithful are super sensitive about their game. And it's not enough for you to say, I like the game or that it's a good game. No. You've got to like all aspects of the game, right? And when I made my Precious video, there are definitely some people who let me know that when I made it clear I don't like the save system and I think alchemy is way too much of a monotonous task, there was some people who took issue with that and made it clear, basically, well, if you don't like those, then this probably isn't the game for you, and yada. There was even one content creator who directly reacted to my impressions and made an hour-long video about how upset he was at many of the things that I had said. Hey, look, shout out to you, Mr. Hardcore Mode, by all means. Y'all that like that kind of content, go ahead and follow him. But for me, he's one of them grums, hypnotic type of guys. He's out here misgendering trans people, believes that there should be less women in gaming and they should only be portrayed a certain way, all that kind of stuff that I don't personally agree with. So I'm not going to be doing any direct reactions, but hey, man, by all means, put my faces in your thumbnail, react directly to my content, get your money, put food on your plate. It does not bother me at all. But I do think it brings up an interesting topic as to why I have been enjoying Kingdom Come Deliverance so much. Many of you watch my videos, but don't necessarily watch my live streams. So you haven't seen me going through some of these thoughts, and you haven't seen the progression of, okay, I see the vision now and understand why people enjoy this game so much. So I thought it'd be interesting to do this type of video and walk through 5 reasons I've really enjoyed my time with Kingdom Come Deliverance. Starting with number 5, I love the fact that you are playing through a game based on real world history. Kingdom Come is firmly set in medieval times, and it was an absolutely brutal, harsh era that was difficult for a lot of people to go through. And playing through the game really helps to reinforce why that was the case and why I'm so glad I was born in 1984. It's so interesting walking through an area that basically tries to recreate that culture, and then to have dozens of people in my live stream giving me little tidbits about different areas and saying, hey, this place actually still looks the way it does in the game right here, right now. And hey, this is why they had to do things in a certain way. And this could be the consequences if that wasn't done. It's just really set me in a period and in a location that I'm wholly unfamiliar with. And that has made the experience even more exciting. Learning about the politics has been so interesting, especially seeing how wars were fought during this time. In a lot of ways, it's not all that different from what we see right now, but it's still really cool to see people who don't have access to cell phones, don't have access to readily available information. So they basically have to receive a message and then, based on their own intelligence and wits, make a decision about what they are going to do. And also, I've mentioned this before, but I think it's worth saying again. It is so fascinating to play a game that's really about white people brutalizing each other. Like in today's times, we're so used to, if white people talk about an other or someone invading or someone who needs to be pushed out for the betterment of the country and the culture, it's always some minority group, right? It's always someone who looks completely different from them. It's so fascinating to play in a game where the other is essentially another group of white people, but they speak a completely different language. They have a different culture. As far as I know, there's no way to learn Hungarian while you're playing the game. So the Cumans always come off as this alien outside force that is both terrifying and at the same time a group that you absolutely have to stand against. It's a very, very interesting and distinctive experience that I've really been enjoying so far. The number 4 reason that I've really come to love this game is the side quest. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a game that really, really takes its time. It definitely has time limits, and don't worry, in another video, I'm going to talk more about the time limits. But in truth, it's a game where you really sit back, relax. There can be hours upon hours where you have little to no combat. It's not based around the combat. It's really more of a character study and is about your interaction with these different characters and engrossing yourself into its world. And this allows the opportunity for some really, really amazing side quests to come about. Whether you're speaking with the priest who, from the very beginning of my live stream, everybody was saying, oh my God, you have to play through the priest quest. Can't wait to see that. And when I actually got through that line, I understood why. But I also really enjoyed the executioner quest. I thought that was amazing, sabotaging different executions. I just finished a quest regarding a ghost haunting where this lady was being haunted by a person who had died in a fire, and she needed me to run around all over creation to try to help her figure out how to deal with that. That quest was also super, super cool. And I, a couple of live streams ago, did a quest for a woman who's actually a noble, and she needed to prepare for a wedding. And I was running around doing different things for her. All of these quests, from a dialogue and story standpoint, were just really, really cool. And at the end of them, there was a sense of accomplishment, each for different reasons. Especially with the ghost haunting, I really enjoyed when that quest finally wrapped up and that lady expressed how grateful she was to be able to put the past behind her. I thought that was handled so well, especially since I got kind of annoyed with everything that she wanted me to do by the end of it. So it was really, really cool to see that, hey, she appreciated it, understood how much work she had put me through. And yeah, I'm really hoping there will be quests in the next game that equal up to what we've experienced in Deliverance. Reason number 3 that I really, really love Kingdom Come Deliverance, the combat. I usually do not like combat in games. I'm much more about dialogue and narrative, and combat is just a means to an end. I love the combat in this game. In fact, in my last live stream, one of the people there commented that, hey, I really like the way you stop every time you're interrupted while fast traveling on the map. And the reason for that is I actually look forward to cutting people up. I think it's really cool. And there are a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, I like the variety of weapons and the way that they all serve a different purpose. You know, swords are great against unarmored opponents. Maces are great against armor. Pole arms give you a little bit more flexibility and range. All of them have a specific reason why you might want to use them. And if you become really good with bows, they are absolutely fantastic in this game as well and help you whittle down the numbers before enemies close into melee distance, or frankly, they may not be able to close into melee distance at all. And so this gives you a lot of flexibility in determining how you want to approach combat. So I spent a long time actually focusing on Mace and Shield because Mace has a bunch of perks that help with strength-based weapons. And ultimately, I wanted to use a long sword for Henry because I just feel like I'm making him into a knight. And so the tactical element of trying to figure out the best angle to use your sword, to me, it fit him like a glove. And that's what I wanted to build up to. And it just feels so satisfying, especially considering Henry starts as someone who's pretty much completely incompetent at combat to now be a person that can really walk into groups of 4 or 5 people and slowly but surely shred them. There's a real sense that I've become a real soldier who has benefited from all the training he has received. But despite that, I still have to pay attention. And this is what I really love about it. Most RPGs, when it comes to combat, they kind of become mindless towards the end. And to some degree, that is still true with KCD. Like, especially with Master Strikes, it makes it a lot easier to determine the best way to take enemies apart. But all enemies can be dangerous, especially in groups of 3 or 4. You can absolutely be overrun. You can absolutely be shredded by a bunch of peasants if you aren't using the proper tactics. And I appreciate that about the game. And so each combat experience kind of has a little bit of tension. Even though, hey, I'm wearing heavy plate, I've got this long sword, I know I'm going to be all right, but I don't completely know I'm going to be all right. And that's super cool. I definitely appreciate that aspect of it. Again, I feel like you don't get that in most RPGs. And it's another area where I'm really hoping KCD2 can nail that as well. I already know they changed up the Master Strikes, so now it's not as easy as just pressing a button. You also have to pick the opposite direction from where your opponent is attacking. I think that's going to be fascinating to see if I can master that system and still use Master Strikes on a regular basis. So I'm really excited about diving into combat in the sequel as well. On that same vein, coming up at number 2, reason I really like this game, progression. So I've already talked about how Henry starts out as incompetent in combat and slowly grows to become a real force who's taking on large groups of enemies. But honestly, I think Henry progresses in a very noticeable way all the way across the board. I haven't finished this story yet, but there's already a part of me that feels like this is the best rags to riches story I've ever played. Henry starts out as illiterate, starts out as someone who has no experience speaking with nobles, and to be honest with you, the game doesn't completely all out say it, but it really strongly hints that at the beginning of the game, Henry's kind of considered a bum. He's kind of considered someone who should be a little bit further, who should be more dependable, who should be doing more with his life, and he's not. And now he slowly becomes someone that his father would almost certainly be really proud of. And yet, despite all this, the game establishes very early on that Henry is not a coward. He's not someone who will say, well, this is a dangerous situation, so I'm not going to get involved. If he feels like something has to be done, he puts on his big boy pants and he walks in and gets it done, even if he has to do it alone. And he goes through a lot of terrible things right at the beginning of the game that really test him. And so early on, the game makes Henry someone who's easy to connect with, someone who's easy to empathize with, and you really enjoy being in his shoes and want to see the story to the end. As I've gone through the game, I've become someone who is illiterate, someone who is trusted, someone who, once again, is basically considered like a soldier who can be sent into very dangerous situations. And now I'm even to the point that I've been trusted with a title. In fact, a couple of different titles from different areas. So just slowly over the game, more and more, it feels like Henry is picking up different skills, picking up different allies, and molding himself into someone who's really looked at with respect. And it's such a cool thing to see. To be honest with you, this is an area I feel like KCD2 can't really emulate. I'm not sure where they could go that's really going to make you feel like, all right, Henry started down here and now he's become even more. He's even more on top. I'm not sure how they would really be able to accomplish that. Something tells me this aspect of the game is probably going to be lost in the sequel, but hopefully there'll be enough other great things happening that I'll still really, really enjoy the experience. And then finally, the number one reason that I enjoy Kingdom Come Deliverance, and frankly, just about always the number one reason I enjoy the games that I really enjoy, the narrative, the story. I love Kingdom Come story. I feel like it's a revenge tale done right. Establishes at the beginning his strong relationship with his parents, establishes a mystery regarding who his father really is and what some of his past might be, gives you a goal and objective in finding his father's sword again and bringing back that honor to his family. All of that is super, super cool. And like I stated before, Henry is someone who is easy to empathize with, so it motivates the player even more to follow these threads and want to know more about what's going on. The Hans Henry bromance seems really cool so far. I'm only about halfway through the main story. I finished a ton of side quests, but there are plenty more main quests to go, but already I can see where a friendship between them is forming. That's really, really cool. And just in general, throughout the game, as the narrative goes on, I'm forming more and more allies, and people are slowly seeing me differently. I think the main storyline, in combination with the incredible storylines in the side quests, is all really, really cool and gives you just dozens of small stories that you look back upon and have warm feelings regarding what you've experienced. There's not a lot of games that can say that. And even more importantly, KCD2 looks like it's following up on this narrative in the exact way that I would want it to. Now, Henry has spent all this time massacring these people, becoming someone who's more trusted, becoming someone who's literate. And now he's looked at it in a certain way. And it definitely seems like KCD2 is going to say, okay, but what kind of man do you really want to be? Doesn't it make you feel something, all these people that you've killed, all these things that you've stolen, all these things that you've done? What kind of person are you? Do you have any standards? Do you have any sort of personal code? That, in my opinion, is the perfect way to follow up the narrative that I've experienced thus far. Cannot wait to see where Warhorse goes with it. And that wraps up the 5 reasons I've really, really been enjoying Kingdom Come Deliverance. Again, I don't like the save system. I don't like alchemy. There are some aspects of this game that you all apparently really, really enjoy and that you feel like are core parts of the experience. And if you don't like this, you don't really like the game. That's fine. You have a right to your opinion. I don't agree. I feel like I can dislike these aspects of the game, but really, really like the experience overall. I'm not the kind of guy that says, oh, this one thing I don't appreciate, so I don't want to play the game at all. No. That's not the way I get down. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear down in the comments, why do some of you really, really enjoy Kingdom Come Deliverance? For the people who decided that this game wasn't for you, let me hear some comments down below about what really turned you off and what potentially would you like to see in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that might convince you to go ahead and play that game. And if you haven't played Kingdom Come Deliverance at all, what is holding you back? What makes you hesitant about whether or not you would enjoy this experience? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.